This is my fish room. Well, the current version of it. If you've been following me for a while, you know we've gone through a few different iterations. We started with cinder block build, where I was a much newer business owner and couldn't afford much, built everything out of cinder blocks. Then, after some time, we rebuilt it, where we built the aquariums into the wall, put in a big studio table, and made a live stream setup out of it. After that, we moved on and went to more of this pond build like you see today, and all the while, I've shown you everything we've done, and I've learned a bunch. But unfortunately, this year and part of last year, we ran into some problems with our neighbors. They were getting very loud and lots of parties going on.
Get out, it's Stream Center!
At the same time, our business has been doing well. We needed more space. Over the last year, maybe, we've been looking at properties and going, we have to find the right one that could accommodate a fish room and all of that. Well, turns out 45 days ago, we found that place. We've now purchased that place and we are moving there. So the fish room, this is the last time you'll see it. We are moving there, and now you understand why we halted the complete redo of the fish room and updating with all the backgrounds and the 800 gallon and everything that we've all been waiting on for so long while COVID's been going on. Now, all of that will take place in the new fish room that's going to be bigger and better, and even more opportunities to learn. So please enjoy this last tour. I really look forward to bringing you what's to come. All right, now we're actually doing the last fish room tour because we're still here. I haven't moved anything yet because of delays, but I got to feed fish anyway. And there's some stuff we never showed you on Bob Steenfoss channel. So if you didn't check out that video, check it out because we're going to go over different stuff in that video. This video is going to be different. I'm still feeding because I'm always doing double duty. But I'm going to talk about the tanks, show you some secret projects, and some new babies and stuff. So in here, still raising up the goldfish fry from the 800 gallon. You know, these are probably 6 months old or more now. And kind of shows you what goes into raising a fancy goldfish. Now I've got more than just these two. These two are here to hopefully take care of this duckweed long term and to spread out the load and keep this active, because once I move it, I'm gonna put fish in it right away. I've got so many fish I want to keep. So yeah, Orange Crush doing well. My wife might put them inside the house. Got my guppies here that are the German Berlin buttercups. They're finally starting to make more fry, which is nice. And just feeding the extreme krill flake, properly place that. I'm floating some pink flamingo crypts here. They're not getting a ton of light, so you can see they're a little more bronzy, but if they were in higher light, they'd be more pink. But they just float here for now until I get a tank to put them in, because right now it doesn't make any sense for me to set anything up. So there's a guppy with there with a flake as big as he is riding around. But yes, I love the smell of these flakes. They just, I don't know why they smell so good to me, but in here we've got lots of blue Silverado endlers. These haven't made it to the shop or anything yet. These are, you know, just still breeding out. I probably need about 3 or 4 times as many before I can keep the store supplied. And so that's where it's like, it seems like it takes forever. But then you get over to a pond like the Dumbo ear panda guppies, and there is like 1 billion fish in here. The only problem with them is they stay small, and so I have to grow them near full to adulthood before we sell them. I guess in the last video, people were shocked at how much food I feed. I wasn't even feeding heavy. Like, I'll feed really heavy. So one thing, I always talk about aquariums, they're an ecosystem. So while there's a lot of fish, there's a lot of snails, we have shrimp, we have plecos in here. But what people don't realize, when you're feeding a flake food or something like that, this has tons of phosphates and other nutrients in there for plants. So I don't use fertilizers in my own tanks, which you're gonna be like, how dare you invented Easy Green. I run these ponds, they're never getting water changes, and the balance is between the amount of food I put in and what the plants will digest. Now, Jimmy will cut some B-roll where I was taking out floating plants, duckweed and that kind of stuff, because that, I can do a water change, or the plants have cleaned that water for me and I take those plants out. Now, sometimes I take that, instead of putting it in the garbage like I did today, I actually go and I put it in the koi pond or something like that. And so one waste becomes another food, and you get that kind of full circle thing going. And so while this seems like a lot of food, there's close to, you know, probably between 700 and 1,000 fish in this tote, and this tote only holds about 125 gallons, which By the way, I already know people are going to ask, where do you get those totes, Cory? We'll put a link down in the description. We've posted it many times before. You're going to go, hey, but that looks like a local company. And I'm going to tell you, yep, it is a local company. I don't know where you're going to get them, in Oklahoma, in New York, wherever you're at, in a different country. But they're used for like picking apples and that type of stuff. So anywhere there's going to be agriculture, you should be able to get them. You could ship them in. I'm sure they're expensive to ship because they don't nest. But these smaller ones are amazing for fish. The bigger ones, I've had 2 leak out of like 8 of them. Smaller ones never had a problem. So, you know, in the new fish room, I hope to get a few more of these. So I really enjoy the totes. You know, part of why I like the tote is I don't have a lot of time. And so you see there's not much algae on any of the sides or anything like that. I don't have to scrub glass down, which Jimmy was getting B-roll of me earlier, scrubbing glass for this tour. It's not that the glass gets unbearable, it's that we want it to look good on camera. And for me, it's fine. You can see the fish, you watch them breathe, they do their magic, all that. But when you put a lens in front of it, then it's like it really starts picking it up. And if it focuses on algae instead of the fish, that's really annoying. And so I like the top-down view as well, and just being able to, I love to roll around on my rolly seat like I'm doing right now and just look at my fish and spend time with them and go, well, what's going on in here with the Variatus platies? And just spend time feeding them and watching what they do, getting a visual on them. One thing you'll be able to see today, and we'll talk about, we should almost do this every time. This is actually a great format, I think. So when Bob filmed it, I saw that I had a fish that was sick. Well, that fish is 100% looking awesome now, and it's been 2 weeks, week and a half, and people freaked out because I put salt, like marine salt, into my freshwater tank, dumped it right on the plants, like it's gonna kill everything. Well, we'll go look at it, and you'll be like, oh, it didn't kill everything. Maybe Cory's treated a fish or two, and you know, the 15 years he's been keeping fish at a commercial level, I learned a thing or two. The fish I value, I'm not just gonna do something careless like that. But yeah, these bigger flakes, I just let them float in there because eventually the bigger fish that are in there will grab them and tear a big chunk off. And it allows me to just kind of oversee what's going on. I like it so that there's always food that makes it to the bottom for my snails and my shrimp and the babies. You know, a lot of people, they're so afraid to overfeed, and with a big plant mass, don't worry about it. The plants need to eat too. So one thing will come back in after I show the fish. There's a secret project up here. I've been working on immersed grown plants that look awesome. You can see here I've got it so it'll drip water if I touch it too much because the humidity's high in there, but I'll show you and I'll explain what we're doing long term. So Jimmy, come on around, keep up with me. So over here we've got some blue swordtails. You can see them right under all of this guppy grass. You can see a lot of babies that are actually red and orange. They're not breeding true yet. What does that mean, Cory? That means out of 100 babies, breeding true would be 92 or more of them would be blue. Right now, it's more like 10 are blue and 90 are orange. So you can see the kind of the blue babies are over here. Nice that gray color. And they're going to be a powder blue swordtail, which is pretty rare. Now, Carl Trochu developed this strain, which is not the one from Aquabid, so it's cool because it's a different strain. But it is still throwing the oranges from the brick red platies he crossed them with. So it's my job, when we move this fish room, I need to sort out and get all the reds out before they get big enough to breed and make sure I remove those so they don't breed back to the blues and undo the work. Now after 4 or 5 generations, most of them will be blue. That's probably about 4 or 5 years. So I got some work ahead of me if I keep working with this. For right now, I didn't know I was getting this, so I put them in here. They're making babies. Again, we've got lots of snails. These are my favorite. These are the pond snails right here. They're just, people call them pest snails. I love them. They don't get much bigger than this, and they don't harm plants. You can see here, look at that, it's stuck to me now. But you can see here, here's one. They're just cleaning my guppy grass for me. And when I put these in, maybe Jimmy's got an old school B-roll shot of these. These were covered in algae, and they were in the bottom 29 tank. And you can see where the algae took hold, where it was really bad, there was actually holes because it killed the leaf. It couldn't photosynthesize. So the blackbeard algae that it had. Now, it was covered where you couldn't get it to come off. Now, it's nice and they look good. And if I reach way over here, and get this one looks even better This is a Nubius cophifolia. It's putting out all these new leaves. Yeah, we sell this plant online. You can see there's a ram's horn snail here and one here. They're doing the good work. People are so afraid they're going to kill their plants, but they keep them clean, and they're going to eat all the leftover food and everything. So they're part of that ecosystem. Again, I keep an ecosystem, not just an aquarium. I realize these are ponds and not aquariums, but you know, again, that's probably as much as I'll put in for that many, you know, babies and stuff like that. But so next up, my hands are wet and I'm dealing with flake food. Not a good combo, by the way. We've got the Vienna guppies. These I keep selling to the, well, I don't sell them to the store. I sell them at the store. And you know, these are over a year. We've been breeding them now. Quite a few in here. This allows us to take probably 20 adult pairs, maybe 30 adult pairs out once or twice a month and still have a big group of them. You can see there's still a big group here. When you start seeing some things, let's see if I can catch it. I wasn't able to catch it for Bob, but if I can catch this big female here. This big female that's in my hand, she actually might have dropsy. So either A, she has like 150 babies she's gonna release, or she's got some swelling going on, could be a bad kidney or something, could be constipated. She eats really well. And then same with this one here. So you have all of these guppies in here. And this is a numbers thing. Again, 500 to 1,000 fish are in this pond, and we can probably pull out 2 or 3 females that are like this, of like, is that healthy? It's either a really giant spawn or it is actually dropsy. Now, I find there's not a lot I can do either way. So I just let them be in here, stress-free environment, feed them well, and make sure they can get away from the males, and just let nature take its course. So every once in a while, yeah, once a week I might find 1 dead fish out of, you know, 500 plus in here. That's always sad, but also hitting them with meds and doing all that kind of stuff is bad too. And the majority of all the fish do really well. One thing I will note, I don't sell that fish. That fish will sell the day I bring it to the store. Oh, I want that big pregnant female. It's going to bring me 1,000 babies. It also has a 50% chance of dying, and I don't want someone to buy it and have a bad experience. So I just keep it, and either A, it's going to make me 1,000 babies, or B, it's going to pass away after, you know, a month or two. Like, it's a real slow, you know, they could actually still breed for quite a long time, even though they're just kind of. So yeah, this actually I feed this toad like a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Because there's so many fish in here. Like you see, I don't even in this corner, but it's like that everywhere. And then we've got all these nice bright red cherry shrimp that we want to, you know, they're staying super red because of the flake. And they, of course, they run from my hand, but if I can get one in my hand here, yeah, you can see how red that is compared to the flake that's, you know, also on my hand. But they're really nice. So, you know, krill, if you didn't know, brings out reds in fish and in snails, like red ram's horns, also in the shrimp. So it's doing more than just offering really good protein and making good baby growth and all of that. You know, the one thing to be careful of when you're using foods that are really good for reds, if you have white fish, sometimes you can turn them pink. So sometimes a betta, or a lot of times in koi, you want those reds to be super red, but you also want the whites to be white and not pink. So you got to be a little careful. But for most fish, you know, these have oranges in them, and we've got those red babies in the other one, and it works out really well. Something like yellow won't make a difference that much, but these have yellow and blue. These are the Japanese leertail blue fish, and there's quite a few babies. If I slowly release in the corner, they'll start coming up. But throughout all the guppy grass, people often ask me, what is the best plant to raise babies? The answer is any plant, just very dense. What grows well in your water? Use that. So a lot of times I'm using guppy grass because I got a bunch and it's growing like weeds, but there's also dwarf aquarium lily right up here. Fish hide out in that too. If you do this outside, you'll get bees and stuff that'll land and drink from the water, and it's kind of fun. So you get bugs and birds and all that kind of stuff going on. But you know, lots of density. And it doesn't even have to be live plants. You could use fake plants. You could use yarn, whatever you want. But the density, so that all these fish right here, they don't even see what's going on in the other corner. They don't know there's 40 babies over there to go eat while I'm hungry. They don't know that. And they also feel safe. So the more cover there is, the more the babies will come out and feed and be confident about feeding. Because that's, You know, and the guppy grass goes down a foot, so it's pretty thick. You know, when we get in here, like if I kind of show you guys, it's coming all the way up. Like it's a thick mat, and that's by design so that we get maximum, you know, fry production, if you will. It's always good when you get krill flake like stuck to your arms and everything, and your wife goes, "What is that?" Well, I was shooting a video. Next up, we've got the blue koi tuxedo guppies. We got them from Twin City Guppies. These have habitually made tons of males for me. So I keep culling males out, and now we're starting to get quite a few. We're getting to be more females than males. Now right now you're looking at it, you're like, those look okay. There's one stunner in there. It's over there, the big mama. When she comes out, you'd swear like, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful male. But no, it's a female. It's a big, good looking fish. Maybe the food will get her to come out. But, you know, we just need her to drop a few times and get a bunch of fry going. Yeah, she's still not even up here yet. She's shy. But I want my fish to be very full after eating in a scenario like this because we don't want them to chase fry down. So that's why we feed pretty heavy. Now, if I'm, you know, trying to maintenance mode, or let's say I've got 300 tetras in a 10-gallon at the store, like in quarantine, you can't feed nearly that heavy. Like that, you start running into ammonia problems, and we don't run plants because we run quarantine meds and salt through there all the time. So then that's not an ecosystem anymore. That's a fish tank. And most people, they build fish tanks at the beginning, and seasoned hobbyists learn that they're actually keeping ecosystems, and that's what they want. They just don't know it yet because this thing, I mean, I'll remind everyone again, these have never had a water change, been set up for over a year, producing tons of fish, producing tons of plants, very little disease or any problems, and requires me to feed them and remove some plants every once in a while. We have to do that whether we're changing water or not, so I'd much rather not to change water. So next up, we've got more goldfish babies. These ones haven't colored up, but these are all from the 800-gallon as well. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. They've got guppy grass. Their job is to eat this duckweed, you know. So as it kind of gets over here, they'll come across. Oh, will you do it on camera for me? Oh, come on. You got scared of the camera. You were going to do it. But goldfish are good for eating duckweed, and so I'll move duckweed over to here. I'll move them around. And they don't always get flake. They usually get extreme pellets, but for today on camera, they can have some flake food. And, you know, goldfish will eat flake. They'll eat anything. They're garbage disposals. So when they were babies, they had to get flake and other little fine foods. You can see there's a guppy still in there from when we had some guppies in here. But you would say, oh, isn't that going to eat that? He's way quicker, and he can go nimbly through all of the guppy grass, and they can't. So that's one way if you've got some aggressive fish in your tank, some bigger fish, and you want the small fish to survive, get a lot of vegetation, a lot of live plants will help you. You know, it's like me trying to chase a 2-year-old. Eventually, they're going to start darting and weaving between couches and chairs, and you got to move the chairs and the couch, and they're gaining speed on you. Same thing happens in your aquarium. So if you put in these roadblocks, it'll help you. So, you know, plants, not only do they make it so you do less water changes, with the ultimate goal for me being no water changes, you also get the benefits of, I'm mixing fish that you can't mix those.
That's a nice Bolbitis.
Yes, so Bolbitis down there, I hope we can find someone who will sustainably harvest that for us. A lot of our competitors sell it. We can't find it where it's sustainably grown. A lot of it's coming in out of Africa, and they're not sustainably collecting it. And so for now, we're choosing to wait to find a good partner to do that with. That, you know, we know, because we know we're going to sell hundreds and hundreds of those a week. We don't want to be like, oh yeah, remember that part of Africa? It's gone because of Aquarium Co-op. Like they sold all of the Bolbitis that was holding the bank together. They ripped out all the Bolbitis and the bank washed away. Like that's what happens with Bucephalandra and some of the crinums and some of these Bolbitis is when the plants go away, like, you know, like in your yard, you remove all the plants, it turns into a mud pit, right? And that washes away. Same thing happens in nature. So we need farms to take it up and go, hey, it's a very slow growing plant, tends to be expensive. We need people to go, hey, I'm willing to spend a lot of money on that. The farms get paid well and we can sustainably do it. But unfortunately, most people, they don't know. I think if most people knew, they would choose not to buy it. But if people don't disclose, they go, hey, I'd buy that plant for $10. Like, well, like a plant like this should actually be about $100 because it takes years to grow that big. But you could buy something like that online for probably 20 or 30 bucks, but it takes so long to recuperate that in the wild. So someday we'll get there, I'm sure of it. We actually have, Randy's going to go meet with a farm and try to convince them to do some of this kind of stuff for us, of like, work on these longer term projects, we'll prepay, we'll do whatever, you know, we're good for it. We're working with 5 farms at this moment. We're buying out 5 farms every week. Like between 5 farms, they can't keep the Aquarium Co-Op fans satisfied. So we need them to up production, and then things like pink flamingo, Bolbitis, some of these other stuff that's like, no one's really producing. This is a gold mine for you guys, and our customers are willing to pay for it. And I believe our customers want it sustainably as well. So this is the mutt guppy pond. So like we talked about a couple ponds ago where I had the blue tuxedo koi guppies, right? Well, all the extra males came over here, and Robert will come over here and raid and bring them to the store. So sometimes you get very high-end genes and genetics for our just mutt guppy tank at the store that we sell at like $4 or $5. And you get a nice, healthy, locally bred fish. And mostly I just like all the colors, and I got to put them somewhere. And like the couple of babies that are in here, eventually I'll move them over here, let them grow out. Now's the part that I hate of the tour. I have to get up off of my swivelly chair. Oh, all right, so now this tank was full of rummy nose. We ran out, supply issues for COVID. A lot of people didn't realize that COVID, because right now there's like 1/50th as many flights. So it's hard to get fish to move around in the world and even just in the country. So sometimes simple things, even like rummy nose, are hard to get a hold of. Yes, we had a ton in quarantine, but we can't keep getting them. So now we're bringing them to store to sell them. Again, I'm going to focus on snails in this tank. So you can see snails. Oh, I told you, Cory, they're eating plants. Look at them. I see them eating plants. Take note. What are they eating? They're eating the dead plant that's fallen off. So if we look at this tank and we see all the growth, there is some of the oldest growth in the pot that is turning yellow because that was grown in different water before it got to me. You notice how they're not taking bites out of any of the new growth in all of the plants that have grown in my water. So they're doing really well. But the plants, again, what are they doing? They're helping us out. They're taking out this old leaves that would have sat around and rotted. Instead, they're just going to help us. Like, that's a win-win. So I'm always, I can't say it enough. You can see that big snail. He's on that one that's dying back when he could hop right over and eat that one that's fresh. He doesn't want the fresh one. They're detrivores. They're like worms. They eat stuff that's decaying. Yeah, they'll eat food because that's going to rot also. Don't put nearly as much flake this time like the last tour because there's not many fish in here. But over here, still have just as many, 500 plus. They still eat like horses. Put a bunch of flake in there. Little piranhas. You probably won't be able to hear it, but they're all hitting the top of the water. And so you see, like, you put in a ton. There's all these fish at the bottom, haven't got a single bite yet. That's why I put even more in. There's still 50 fish that haven't even got a bite on it yet. So that's why I have to keep putting more and more and more in to keep. Now, what you're looking for in rummy nose, you want a nice full body. You want a real red nose. If don't have a real red nose, they're stressed out. And then you want nice defined black and white stripes on the tail. All of those together makes a beautiful rummy nose. To do that, you got to feed really well, keep those bodies nice and full. In big packs, almost always they're underfed. Now you're watching real time, they're devouring this flake. Like, it looked like I put in a ton, and I put in a decent amount, but what are we thinking about now? So we've got some algae we want to feed. The poop's going to help do that. We have a super red bristlenose living inside the plant. He would like a meal at some point. And there's some snails in here. Right now, these guys are going to polish us off in the next 5 to 7 minutes. So really, I should feed some more. You might be saying, I don't see the snails, Cory. What are you talking about? We have a different type of snail. If you look on the wall, we have the Malaysian trumpet snail. Those are nocturnal. They live in the gravel and they churn the gravel for you, and then they come out at night and you'll see 100 of them on the glass. So they'll help break down the fish poop, but that bristlenose, he would like to get some food, so hopefully there'll be enough left over that when we walk away, he'll feel confident and come in and grub on some of these. Yes, we can feed some other foods as well, but you know, I guess I'm just explaining, because the last video I did with Bob, people were like, that's more food, you're insane, you're gonna kill them all. And it's like, that's like a little bit lighter than I normally do, actually. Like, this is, you gotta feed fish, you want them to grow. You know, what you put into it is what you get out of it. So down low, we've got turtles and we've got endlers. Now, since we've been here, let me grab some food for them. They eat different food. They eat a pellet food, and they'll eat almost anything. Turtles are a real, you know, garbage disposal as well. But this is the extreme pellets, and I just put them in like that, and I spread them around because they'll lock onto each other's feet and stuff when they're eating. They're they eat like hungry hippos. And you know, one of the signs, in my opinion, when you're doing well with fish or turtles or whatever, is you'll start seeing babies. And that's, a lot of these, we only ever started out with 6, and we gave some to Bob, but these are turtle eggs that I pulled out 2 days ago. And they're starting to chalk up, which means it should be viable. This one might not be viable. I've actually got an incubator on the way, because I decided I want to build a professional incubator instead of the DIY solution I've always done in the past. These need to make sure we don't rotate them. If we rotate them, we can actually have them separate from the egg and they'll die. But they just stay moist, and basically they gotta not be kicked around by turtles. So they're just gonna sit up top till my incubator arrives, and then we'll build in the proper incubator at the new studio. But you know, again, everything needs to upgrade. I actually had to give turtles away because we were getting too many. Now there's, you know, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 10 in here for a 125-gallon tank, and I gave 6 away. And I've skipped out on eggs probably 2 seasons in a row now, and I need to get a bigger tank going. I need to, you know, find better homes for them, and I'm not allowed to sell them legally, so I have to just do it right, you know. They're under 4 inches, and that's the rule in the United States. And being that I own a pet store, I can get fined a crazy amount of money for breaking that rule. On average, people mostly just give them to friends, or they sell them in a reptile swap, and no one's really policing that, so that they can get away with that. Up here, I still can never remember the name, but these are the blue-eyed livebearers, less green water than the last tour. What I'll point out here, I love this fish, but what I'll point out is we've got a lot of Pogostem and Slotus octopus. This also would allow fish to get away from other fish. So it's, as this fills in more and more, this is going to take the place of that guppy grass. And I just wanted to show a way that we could do that. Some other things I'm going to point out in here. We have a plant that is being consumed by the snails. That plant didn't make it. They didn't take it out. It was just, it was a crypt that I put in there, and I didn't plant it. It didn't convert the same, unfortunately. So they ate it. Thank you. That's what I got to say about that, is they, you know, got some nutrients out of it and are helping it break down to fuel other stuff. I'm gonna feed these guys. These guys don't eat nearly as much. It's mostly all the snails that eat in here. So hopefully they'll come out and eat. They're real shy, but that blue eye, I can't wait till I make more of these. That's just duckweed. So that's a female there. Male and female, so we've got a couple, I think 1 male, maybe 2 males, and a bunch of females. And I can just imagine, maybe this is a fish, well, I'm doing the rummy nose. I was like, I should have done this fish with Ladybird when I put her in the 800 gallon, but, because they look so cool. They're real shy though. All right, we'll move on because we can't spend all day watching them try to eat. I can, you know, I definitely get sucked into it, like, oh, look. But I usually try to do the, like, oh, let's see what they're doing, you know, that type of move. Because fish act way different. You can see now, they're going frenzy for it. We moved back 2 feet. That was just enough for them to feel comfortable. They started frenzying on the bigger flakes. So when you're up, you don't see as much. One of the best things you can do is set a chair on the other side of the room, and you can see it happening. Again, if we chime in on the rummy nose over there, they're working on those big flakes still. And you can see right in the back, I don't know if you can catch it, but the bristle nose is starting to come out to eat. So what I'm trying to illustrate, I guess, is I spend a decent amount of time with my fish and I learn about them. I know that if I stand there, that guy will never come out to eat. If we move a few feet away, he'll start to come out. And you got to learn that about your fish and know, am I putting enough in? Is he going to come out and feed the next 10 minutes or isn't he? Do I need to special feed him or don't I? And so yeah, you got to spend time with your tanks. That's why I always say I don't have enough time. And we've all got 24 hours in the day, but it takes a lot of time, I feel like, to really learn your fish. Like your fish, not just, I know a lot about rummy-nosed tetras, but what about rummy-nosed tetras in your water, in that tank, mixed with those fish with the food you're feeding? That's an entirely different thing. Down low here, this is where we had sick fish in Bob's tour. So we had that big female was pretty fungused up. She's not 100%, but she is a lot better. And we dumped all the salt right in here and everything's still alive, right? So I actually put meds in here so the bubbles are a little finer. So we did the salt and meds and she's on the mend. Now a lot of people would look at that and go, oh, something's still wrong with her. And I would say, you're right. She's not 100%. But don't go too far and be like, well, I'm going to put all the meds in. I'm going to treat with more stuff. I'm going to blow the kidneys out. Because remember, when we're treating for illnesses, we're putting medicines in there. That's hard on its actual, organs. And if we just keep berating the fish with more meds, more and more meds, we're actually going to kill their kidneys. They're going to die from kidney failure before they're going to die from what's going on right now. So my plan is actually just keep nursing it along. This will be one of the first fish I move to the new house. We've got hard well water. This fish came from liquid rock water. She's still eating. We can see her pooping right now. She's pushing forward. That's fine. They're not making any babies for me at the moment because there's not enough cover. They're quick fish. They'll eat their own babies. So I keep feeding. I keep an eye on it, and I just make sure that we're, not moving. We're moving forward still. It gets better each day and not worse each day. So that's, an important thing to me. They're very shy fish, though. They're used to being outdoors in Carl Choshu's outdoor fish room, which if you're a member of the channel, you actually got to see that tour. It was very raw from a cell phone in 1,000,000,000 degrees heat, and I was nerding out, so I only shot like 10 minutes worth, even though I spent all day there. I was actually just in my own element nerding out, so. But yeah, I love these fish. This is one of the ones I'm most excited to work with in the entire fish room because I've been waiting for this fish for 7 years. So, and you can check out more pictures of this. I think he's on Miami Tropicals or Miami Swordtail Tropicals, something like that website. If you Google that, you'll get there. But yeah, just a really gorgeous fish, I feel like. Because these are a variatus, so that means they can go cooler water. They're not just a normal platy, they can go much cooler water, and they act differently than your standard, than just your standard platy. So, all right, moving on. Ooh. Up top, we've got yellow labs. These guys are a long-term project. They were really good at eating duckweed for a while. Then I started feeding them really good with extreme food. Then they got lazy about eating duckweed. So now you guys are not being as useful as you used to be to me. Yeah, basically now everything's kind of, since I didn't eat this duckweed, stuff's getting coated in algae. We've got no algae eaters in here. So this is a good example, I think, too. There are no snails and no algae eaters like a bristlenose in here. So what do you see? On all the plants, you see the algae on all the on all the anubias. That's exactly, well, actually looked worse when I put that into that other tank where the snails cleaned it up. So if I get a handful of Malaysian trumpet snails and a bristlenose in here, after about 2 weeks or so, you're going to see everything look a lot cleaner. All these leaves on the dwarf Sagittaria, algae, a little bit of hair algae going on. If I don't do anything, eventually that's going to kind of die out anyway. If I put a snail in there, they're going to clean all that up, and maybe half of those long ones will die. The other half will thrive, and then they're only going to eat the dying ones. So I really just need to wait till night, move my hand across, grab a bunch, throw them in here, be done. But yeah, these guys are a mouth brooder, and they're gonna love the hard water too when we move. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll give them some flake food. Even though they normally eat pellets, I'll give them some flake just because we're standing here, and I know we got to film a lot today, and I don't want to forget to feed them. So I don't put a ton of flake food in with fish that aren't meant to eat flake food because it's kind of like, oh, I've got the whole family over for Christmas. Here, give them 2 bags of chips. either way, they're not satisfied. They're going, all we got is chips for Christmas dinner? So it's like, here's a snack, and it's the time over till I come back and like, here's frozen food, here's pellets, here's the things you guys need. That's what that operates as for me. Down below is one of my favorite tanks to peek in on. We've got my Juraparis. So a lot of people ask what that is. It's an earth-eating cichlid. They sift the sand all day long. They basically grab a handful of sand. When we're not close, maybe this guy will do it while we're here. But when we're not close, they'll grab sand, sift it through their gills, and spit it back out. That's what they do. He's grabbing stuff off the log, but they dig all day long, basically. And they're usually safe with smaller fish because they find their food in the gravel or the sand. So that's how I get away with all these teacup platies. I'm going to put some food in here now just so we can watch them eat. And I'm here anyway. Got to feed them. I've also got the whiptail cats we brought back from Peru in here. And we've got a breeding pair of cribensis. Now the cribs, they've been showing a lot of breeding behavior right on the back side of this pond. They've bred a couple, or pond, this pot. They've bred a couple of times now, but because of all the platies and the Juraparis, the fry never make it. Either they spook the parents and they eat them, or they're actually getting eaten by the bigger fish. So we're actually going to shoot another video on what to look for and how to get ready when you've got fish spawning and how to make it be successful. So look out for that video in the future. I don't want to give away all my tips because then there's no reason to watch the next video, but just know that video is coming. And yeah, so now I think we could move on to do some more fun stuff. Let's look at some of the fun projects I've done over the summer that maybe not everyone knows about yet. If you're not a member on the channel or on our forum or watch Bob's tour, but no one's seen this one yet. This one is just for Randy and I. I've been working on this for a couple months now. I'll pull it down and see if I can not make a mess. Oof. All right. So part of the problem we have with COVID, right? Because I'm a tinkerer, I like to build stuff, I like to figure out problems, is that there's very few flights coming into America from around the world. If only one flight's coming from Thailand a month, and I like to buy a lot of plants from Thailand, I got to be able to store a ton of plants. Now right now I've got a warehouse and we're doubling our plant capacity. That would get us by for 2 weeks. If we're only getting one flight in a month, I got to be able to hold 4 weeks. So if I keep them underwater, they grow too fast. I don't want them to grow that fast. I want them to stay in the condition so they ship. Like a plant that's this big costs me 10 times as much money to ship you. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you want that Anubias? $50 instead of $10 or $8. So we need to keep them roughly in the same size they were. That's where growing them and keeping them immersed goes. So I took a swath of products here. So like this one was a coconut hut, or not hut, but bridge that was already like real brown. I was like, I wonder if I can bring it back. Answer is no, you can't.
You did get a little.
Yeah, I did get a little sprout here, and maybe with time, like I'm going to let it sit here for a longer time. This one's also in pretty bad shape. This one is coming back. You can see all this green moss coming back. And so now I know, like, okay, this is a decent way to store these if we order a bunch of them ahead of time. Then I took different, like, Anubiases, and I just wanted to see, like, how would they grow? Would they, you know, I was worried, like, let me see if I can pull the right one out here. Did I get it first try? First try? I was worried that this would happen to all the leaves. Like if they touched the top of the thing and got wet, I was worried that that would happen. But, you know, if I was to ship you that, I think you'd be pretty darn happy for $8 or $9, right? And this plant was a little bit smaller when I got it, but, you know, these are looking pretty good. They're flowering. That's what this is right here. This is how they flower when they're happy. Now, if I was doing my job and I was trying to really propagate this, you would actually cut off all the flowers because it takes a lot of energy. So if I cut this off, it might grow 2 or 3 more leaves instead of flowering. But I just wanted to see what would happen. And you can see here, I think these ones got shut off from the light. All of these were over here. And it got a little crowded. These were Anubias Nana Petites. That one didn't make it. This one didn't make it. This one's barely holding on. But you can see where the light is. The light totally hit that one, worked fine. So this is obviously, I only bought one of these containers to play with, and we'd have to set up a whole farm this way to do this. Yeah, because this is right here. But this is showing to me that it can work. Like here's Pogostemon, or not Pogostemon, Styrogyne repens. Holding up decent. If it had got better light, like it's, you got to pull them out. They're all covered up because they're so in here tight. But we can buy different spacings and everything. And I didn't put any fertilizer in here. This is just water and, well, actually I pulled water from here. So a little bit of, like fish poop came in. But Java ferns looking good. We've got the Java fern Windalav looking pretty good. And I always tried to pull, like medium, not the best, not the worst, so that I would see actually how it would come out if we were to do this. Now, a lot of the crypts, people always, they want bigger crypts. These are all Emersed grown leaves. These are all going to die back, but the root structure is really good. And so this is how we would buy them. They'd have less roots. They'd have this Emersed grown leaves. We've grown a few. They're starting to get into deficiency now. 2 months. This is a nitrogen deficiency. We need to put fertilizer in this system. Now, if I build a whole greenhouse out, which, that might be happening, we're going to be running fertilizer through. We'll be using the Easy Green and everything, and we'll run it through the water, and we'll keep these immersed. And the only reason we're keeping them immersed is so they don't grow exponentially big on some of the plants. Some of the plants will grow much taller with stem plants and stuff. And also we want to be able to keep it more compact and all of that. With water, you run into algae problems. So if I have 20,000 cryptocorns and we start growing algae, I just lost, $50,000 or whatever. So out of water, another problem. And then we take that, we go stage them at the warehouse, they convert there, then we ship them out to you guys, or at least get most of the conversion done. So this has been something I've been tinkering with. It's been going really good. This plant is in distress. So here's the thing you can learn about Java ferns. When they're in stress, if I can get it out here. When Java fern becomes stressed, even though this looks pretty healthy, it's not getting nutrients. We already know that from the other plants here. When it is stressed, it'll start making baby plants on the underside of the leaves. When this breaks off, that becomes a new plant. These roots grab onto rocks and that kind of stuff in nature. This will grow a whole new Java fern. Same with this one. So one of the tips you can do if you're ever looking to make a lot of Java fern is buy it all from Aquarium Co-op. But if you're not going to do that, then what you do is you just break a leaf off. Now this thing's totally in distress. You'll get like 20 or 30 babies. Just let that float around in your aquarium. It's highly likely this will start you a bunch of babies. It's not always, but very highly likely you'll make a lot more baby Java ferns. Now, baby Java ferns are a little bit of a pain in the butt, and they're small, and they take a long time to grow, but you could propagate quite a few. You can see the rhizome here has grown out of the side of the pot. It's ready to move on, and it's loving life. So, just something we're playing with. I've done, again, I like to set up simple systems. Nothing has been done to this at all. We didn't fertilize. This is the second or third time I've opened it in 2 months. And we just have a USB air pump keeping it going. The biggest problem I have right now is actually, I know this leaf I shut in the thing, is making this a much bigger system and then making it so that it doesn't go all the way to the edge. So that way I need to build a big tent, like if a greenhouse, like this is basically a miniature greenhouse. Close that the way, there we go. And a lot of times I let that sit there. I moved it up here last time I did a tour just so it was out of the way. I wasn't sure I was going to show anyone that. So, but then I thought, well, another tour, I better show them something they hadn't seen. So turtle eggs and that. Next, I say we head outside and check out some of the ponds because this one literally might be the last time ever because I got to move them any day now. So. All right, so we're gonna sneak up on this tote. There's usually a lot of babies in there. We just took about 100 to the store this week though, so it might not be impressive at all. Oh, there's still a lot. They're just running. But if you look down through the weeds, there's tons of guppy grass and hornwort in here. This is also a pond that never gets a water change. And I feed it maybe once every 3 months, honestly. Like whatever falls in, breaks down, they eat it. You can see the bubbles on the surface of the water. This is where the algae and the plants are pearling. You can see it happening real time, kind of right through here. This is the power of the sun. So because we have no agitation, there's not even an air stone in here, that there basically gets a buildup of CO2, and that's what you'll get. So you can see it releasing really fast right through here. Plants grow like gangbusters, clean the water for me. Now if you look back in the corner, you can see all the fry congregating. They're going, hey, is this our quarterly feeding we get? And yes, it is. It's your lucky day. But there's several hundreds of fry in here, and we just catch as many as we can and take them to the store. But they chow down. What's interesting, and this is what led to all the ponds in my fish room, is I never changed water. This always did incredibly well. I didn't even feed or anything, and this would produce way more fish. They would just have pine cones, pine needles fall in. All this stuff just falls in, and as it decomposes, it feeds the plants, and it just has always made way more fish than me dedicated trying. And so that either means A, I'm an incredibly bad fish keeper, or B, nature's still just way better than we are. And I kind of think it's B, of like, nature's really got it figured out. How do we incorporate more of this nature inside our home? You know, right now most people are going, I gotta change water 50% once a day, once a week, whatever it is. I gotta feed, I gotta do all these things. And then they don't get the results. And here we're doing nothing and getting great results. Not every fish is gonna be that way, but if we go look at my other ponds, you'll see where we have changed a little bit of water. We are feeding, you know, probably every other day, and they're making fish, but not nearly as many. Now, there's a little bit of size difference in the pond and that kind of stuff too, so it's not apples to apples comparison, but it's as close as I'm ever going to get. And plus, we want to take a look at them. I got some orange ones too, rice fish. So over here we have what I think is the hobbyist setup. We've got, you know, over 100 gallons of water. We have a sponge filter in there. We've got plants. We've got duckweed. We've got lots of roots too, you know, on the water hyacinth. This is, you know, plenty of place for them to hide babies and all that. So it's got all the elements. We're feeding it really well. The water's green and all that. And why does it make less fish? It makes fish. It just doesn't make as much. They're still, you know, they'll run from me, from the shadows, but we don't make as much. So that's where, you know, I'm trying to do the best of both worlds inside. I'm getting a lot of guppy production. We do run a sponge filter because I do think air will probably help. I used to run air in the other pond where we just were, except the raccoons ripped it out and ate it. So, you know, I'm going to let nature, you know, show me the way over there. And it's a good, like, litmus test of, or, you know, a good control over there to go, okay, well, if I do nothing, that happens. If I do this, am I better or am I worse? So yeah, in the next pond, we have Brine Shrimp Town. This is a saltwater pond. I'm going to get out of the way so you can kind of see it better. This we put brine shrimp eggs into. It's at normal saltwater strength, and there's lots of brine shrimp. And we're going to feed some of these, some fish inside. And when brine shrimp, when they're happy, they give birth to other live brine shrimp. They're livebearer. When they're not happy, they lay eggs. Kind of like we talked about Java fern earlier. In stress, they start making babies and having, you know, eggs or little plantlets. These guys, live birth when they're happy. If they get stressed out, make eggs. Try to overwinter, try to overcome. And because they're relatively happy, they make a lot of brine. So, and they take a little while to grow up. This pond is now about 2 months old, but we can see all the brine shrimp that's in there. It's not a crazy amount. Like, I can't just farm a never-ending amount out of here, but it is good when you're trying to condition select fish. We'll go put these in with like the, you know, I don't know, the rummy nose or something. We'll walk inside, figure out who finished off their food and needs more food, basically. Because if they haven't finished eating, they don't get a treat. These guys, yeah, most of these guys finished. So these guys over here, normally I would probably feed these to other fish, but I want you to see it on camera and everything when we plop it in there. So you can see kind of all the live brine wiggling around in there. And there's some pine needles and stuff. And again, nature, I'm not afraid of it. So let's just put that in. And now you've got all this live brine that was grown in my own backyard instead of buying frozen brine or anything like that. And I've never done a water change on that. You notice a theme happening here. All these tanks are changed, same with the store, but I'm moving more and more towards sustainability, like Charles Clapsaddle's farm, where he never changes water. And, you know, so having critters like this that I can feed is really nice. Yes, I hatch out live baby brine when I'm breeding fish, and I can put some of the extra eggs or some of the extra brine that maybe I don't feed out. But you can see the different sizes. Some of those brine are real small because they were born in there. And it's a good little treat. And it's something fun to do in the backyard. What's nice is you don't have mosquitoes in there or anything because it's salt water. So, you know, if you've got a spouse saying, we're going to get mosquitoes, just put a saltwater pond in. And it's kind of fun. Yeah, there's some algae in there and stuff, but, you know, most people when they come over, Randy, Bob, I don't have a lot of people over because of COVID, but those couple guys, they're always like, oh my gosh, how did I not know this? I'm doing this. And if you're a freshwater nerd, you kind of get into it. And second time I did it, the first time I ever did it, which might have been the first video I ever did for YouTube ever, I was showing my club. I'll see if I can dig that up. We'll put a little tidbit or something in. But I haven't done it in, it's probably like 14 years now. And because I redid the forum, I want to do some projects that didn't take a dedicated video, like that video would flop on YouTube of like, here's how to make a saltwater pond. But I still wanted to do it and educate people because I think it's a worthwhile thing to be playing with. So we'll take a look at the orange rice fish outside, and then we'll take a look at my koi and wrap it up. See if we can get any of these orange ones to come up. These guys have been the hardest ones for me to breed. I'll back away because they sense, you know, the shadow a lot of times, but they are, there's one in the corner over here. Nice orange color to it. They do come up, they feed. They do make some more, but not a lot. They don't make nearly as much, and I don't know, is it being on the end down here? Is it, you know, just the setup's wrong? My next move is set it up like the other ones where they get no water changes and they don't have a sponge filter and they just have stuff fall in from the sky and to feed them. Doesn't look very impressive right now because there's one. Woo, one. I promise you there's like 12 in there or more, you know. And every once in a while, like I got Dean a little group of them, I'll get other people little groups of them. And every time the platinums take off for them, it's the oranges that are like, yeah, they're not firing for me yet. And I don't know if it's just a weaker bloodline or what, but I like them more, so that's why they won't do it. Like I could eat platinum rice fish every day for the next year and not run out. I can't cobble more than about 20 of these things together to save my soul. So, all right, we'll take a trip to the front of the house, show off the koi pond one last time, I suppose, unless we move them to the new place, and we'll feed them while we're there. All right, so being that I talked about earlier in the video, we've got the duckweed here. Normally I feed pellets most days, but they do love the duckweed as well. It takes them a little bit to get used to it, but they'll start coming to eat it. And they'll work on this overnight, try to get it all off the net. And they'll come up and start scooping it up. But that green helps keep them, I guess, regular. They go to the bathroom, it's easily digestible. And then if I wasn't filming, I'd also use this net and take out these pine needles that blow in. But again, you know, nature is blowing everything into here. Right now, it's actually, there's fires all around us in this state, so it's real hazy out today. We're actually not even supposed to be outside filming or anything, but gotta do what you gotta do. This water normally is a lot clearer because we do a lot more water changing with the system we have going. Maybe I'll show you guys that because that's pretty cool. But because we've been moving, or we haven't moved yet, we're attempting, we bought a house and we're attempting to get ready to move. We just haven't done as many water changes like we normally would. So if you check this out, we've got this system in, and what this is if I open this and close this, we now pump water out through this hose wherever I want to go. Apparently it's led to this corner, which I know we need to mow. I got it. We've got lots to mow now. We've been working on harvesting the vegetables. And so this, we had lots of onions, or my wife did. I'm not taking credit for this. We had lots of onions and potatoes over here. We've got different types of like lettuce and spinach and stuff over here. There's tomatoes in the back. If we go over here, she's growing some pumpkins, and we would normally just water every day. Get it real nice and soaked, a little pumpkin there. She's real proud of the orange one. We've never been able to grow pumpkins before, so she's having a ton of fun, and she swears by using the pond water because it just makes things grow like gangbusters. So, you know, we just do this every day. I think these are cucumbers, maybe? I'm not sure. I know we're growing cucumbers. I don't know if those ones are. I don't eat them, and I don't know about them, and I like it that way, okay? Over here, we were growing some like purple either broccoli or cauliflower. I think this is kale or something. These are, they call them ground cherries. supposed to like fall off, and then you open them up, and they've got this little like tomatoey thing in it. So you would eat that.
I'll try it.
All right. I don't know if it was ripe or anything, but
Tastes like the ground.
so then you can see over here, I'll let this water, tons of little tomatoes we got going on. We just planted these. I say we, my wife. I don't want to take credit for this. This is all her. She planted these, I think, like about 6 weeks ago. And these boxes, the raised beds, were built by Joel, who dug the majority of the pond. Last year, if you watched, cut some B-roll into this, but we dug that out. All the dirt that came from there came into these, knowing we would pump the water from the pond into our garden. And you can kind of see that whole, oh yeah, it's that nature thing of like feed fish, fish go poop, make poopy water, grow plants, whether we're doing it with koi or not. Koi eat plants, that's why we don't do it there. And then you're going, wait a second, you could take those zucchinis and those cucumbers and you could feed them to the plecostomus out in the fish room. Like, yep, we've done that. We've done clown loaches. We just really like to enjoy and see what we can do and recycle, because we do use a lot of water. So if we're gonna do big water changes on the pond, let's use it to water the garden and all of that. Like right now, our lawn, we had it redone, and there's a lot of these little like things we need to get out of it, but by keeping it longer, we're in a drought. It hasn't rained in like 2 months. So by keeping it longer, the grass stays greener longer. And so while yes, on camera, someone mow that, I get it, I got it. Yes, we'll mow it at some point, but we're trying to keep it alive until it starts raining again. We're in September now. Hopefully any day now we're gonna get some of that rain, you know, but we'll do what we can. You know, again, brought the plants in from the fish room. The fish eat that, they poop it out, they make great fertilizer, and there's just debris in the water, which, you know, some people go nuts when they see like, your water's not crystal clear. I look at it and I go, look at all these nutrients we're gonna put on our plants. And now it does run clear most times, but we haven't been doing what we normally do. And I don't know, I enjoy it. I enjoy, one of my goals, maybe at the new house, is set something like this up so it's automatic. So even if we were super busy like we are right now, it wouldn't be, you know, the water would still be clear and all that. I'm really excited the new place has a well, and so the water's gonna be harder. There'll be no chlorine in it at all, more minerals in it for plants and fish and all that kind of stuff. So that's super exciting to me. Yeah, you know, I don't want to move because we just got done building all this cool stuff, but you know, unfortunately, we've got some neighbors. You know, yesterday they were throwing pumpkins off the roof into their above ground pool.
You love smashing pumpkins.
Are you kidding? I love to do that.
While I was live streaming. I don't know, you guys didn't hear that on the live stream, but I kept like, what are my dogs going nuts about? And it's because the dogs can see over the 6-foot fence going, why is there people on the roof? What are they throwing? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the tour and got the little sneak peeks of, you know, we would flash forward to what some of the new space looks like. And you know, it's going to take some time. Bear with us. You know, we're going to have to put videos out, and it's going to be hard to make videos when we don't have a fish room to do that in while we're transitioning. But we'll rely on, you know, Bob Steenfott, Dean, Jimmy, other cool people that'll help us get some good videos for you guys. Don't you love it when there's a giveaway that's actually hassle-free? So do we. So we're going to give away 5 care packages every week just because we want to give back. All you have to do, be a subscriber, hit the like button, and leave a comment. From there, our app will do the rest. We'll send those packages out anywhere in the world, no matter how much it costs us, and we're gonna do it every week. So the sooner you become a subscriber and you participate, the more chance you'll have to win. Good luck, and for more details, check out the description down below.